Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the stream. I did try to set up YouTube streaming, it didn't work out, and TikTok likes to crash each time. But, with that being said, we are going to listen to some horror stories from America, especially from my native tribe, the Wendigo. So, if y'all would like to take a listen, I'd be so happy. I don't know why these things are still here. But shall we continue?
Sizable compilation of flesh-eating monsters just for you. In return, I simply and humbly ask that you scar that like button for life, subscribe, and consider following my podcasts, where these stories came from, on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Just look for Unexplained Encounters,
I don't know where I want to
or
start.
Tales from the Break Room. Thank you. Now enjoy, you little rascals. God, they're so cute.
The hair is done.
Last year, I came across a story.
This looks more brown than black.
It was sent to me
because
by
it
a
is.
former park ranger who worked in Superior National Forest in the late 1980s.
We are gonna do another
He never
clipping
gave his
where
real name,
we're
only
gonna
going by
come on, brushes.
Lunacy24. And he titled his story simply, Never Speak It. According to Lunacy24, the veteran rangers had an unspoken rule. A word.
Why
a
are you
subject
not
they
clipping?
refused to say out loud. And when he finally understood why, he wished
What is
he'd
happening?
never asked. I can't say if this story is true or not,
Where
but after reading it, I understand
is it?
why
Not
he felt
this?
compelled to send
What
it
is
to
this?
me. It's a warning, one we should all keep in mind. Why park rangers won't talk about the Wendigo. I'm writing this because my brother's daughter wants to be a park ranger. She's 20 now, studying environmental science.
Okay,
at the
you don't want a
University of
straight
Minnesota.
black, but kind of a
Last
bluish
month,
black.
she asked me about my time with the Forest Service. I gave her the same
That's a
answer
gray.
I've given everyone for the past 36 years. I worked that one season in Superior National Forest and decided it wasn't for me. That was a lie. The truth is, I'm the reason my brother Dalton wears a prosthetic left arm. I'm the reason 3 people transferred out of our station within 2 months. And I'm the reason northeastern sections of Superior National Forest had wildlife management closures.
Ew, I don't know what that does.
In 1987.
So I don't fuck with it.
I need to be clear about something before I continue. I've been sober for 12 years. I was not drunk during any of the events I'm about to describe. I wasn't on drugs, and I was not suffering from any kind of psychotic break. The medical evaluation I underwent after the incident confirmed I was of sound mind. I'm telling you this because I know how it might sound. I know what I'm about to describe seems impossible, but it happened. My name is Everett.
I think
Everyone
I might need
calls
to
me
bring
Red.
this up a little bit more.
In the summer of 1987, I was 23 years old, fresh out of the University of Wisconsin with a forestry degree and a head full of romantic ideas about wilderness work. My older brother Dalton had been a ranger in Superior National Forest for 8 years.
Just so I could get the darker
and
shades in
helped me
here.
get a position at his station. I thought I was beginning a career. I lasted 4 months. This is what happened, and why. Superior National Forest covers over 3 million acres in northeastern Minnesota, butting up against the Canadian border. Most people know it for the Boundary Waters Canoe Area wilderness, over 1 million acres of pristine lakes and forest that you can only access by canoe or on foot. In '87, it was even more remote than it is now. Cell phones didn't exist. Radio communication was spotty. Some areas hadn't seen human traffic in years. I reported to the ranger station near Ely, Minnesota that summer. The station was a small place with a main building with offices, a bunkhouse for rangers pulling consecutive shifts, and a maintenance shed. Our crew consisted of 7 people, including myself. Dalton
How's everyone's
was my
night going so
immediate
far?
supervisor. He'd always been the responsible one, serious and thorough, the kind of man who'd read every manual cover to cover, even when I found it annoying. At 32 years old, he'd already been promoted twice, and was being groomed for a station chief position somewhere down the line. He took the work seriously, maybe too seriously, but people respected him for that. Station chief was Linnart, a Finnish-American in his mid-50s who'd spent his entire career in the forest. He had that weathered look people get from decades of outdoors experience, skin like leather and permanent squint lines. The guy's hands looked carved from wood, and he didn't waste words. Simone was the only woman on our crew, and the most experienced ranger besides Linnart. She was in her late 40s and had been in the service for 15 years. She had transferred from Montana after a divorce. She could outwork any of us and had no patience for complaints about hard conditions. Joel was a 28-year-old guy, French-Canadian, and the most easygoing person I'd ever met. He'd been there 3 years and knew the Boundary Waters like his backyard. He had a joke for every situation and made the long canoe patrols bearable with his stories. Vernon was our oldest ranger, pushing 65. He was planning on retiring at the end of the season. He'd worked in Superior for over 30 years. He was a very quiet guy.
Look,
Like he
art
was
doesn't
always
need to
listening for
be
something, and that
good,
something
it
was
just
none
needs to
of
be
us.
messy.
I noticed he watched people more than
There's
he
no
talked
such
to
thing as
them.
perfection when it comes to art.
The last two were seasonal rangers who rotated in and out, and they're not quite important to this story. For my first 2 weeks, the work was exactly what I dreamed. Backcountry patrols and maintaining campsites, checking in on hiking groups and monitoring wildlife. The Boundary Waters in summer is beautiful, but if I had to describe it right now, it would sound like I was reading from a tourism brochure. So I just won't try. All in all, it was hard work, physical work, and I loved it.
Can y'all hear the
Let's get
story
to the first
good or no?
hard part. Joel and I were responding to a report about some lost hikers who turned out to be just fine. They'd gotten confused about their pickup location. On our way back to the station, we came across a deer carcass about 50 yards off the main trail. Joe stopped to examine it, which was something we were supposed to do. We documented any unusual wildlife activity or signs of poaching. Huh, Joel said, crouching down next to it. That's not right. What isn't? I asked. He pointed at the carcass. The way it's stripped. Coyotes usually work from the belly, but this... He trailed off and stood up. Well, this must have been wolves. They're not common this far south, but it can happen. Doesn't really look like wolf feeding patterns to me, I said. I'd studied predator behavior in school. You see these tears? They're too ragged. I pointed at them. Joel gave me a look. Looked like he was doubting me. Yeah, well, wildlife does what it does. He started walking again, faster than before. I followed. Should we report it? Already made a note. He didn't elaborate. That evening, back at the station, I mentioned it during dinner. We all ate together in the main building's common room, one of those forced camaraderie things that actually worked pretty well most of the time. So Joel and I found this deer carcass out by Hegman Lake, I said. Stripped up
Hi,
in a
Ian.
way, might want to keep an eye out for unusual predator activity. Vernon, who had been eating quietly, stopped with his fork halfway to his mouth. The pause was brief but noticeable. Dalton gave me a look I couldn't quite read. What kind of predator activity? I don't know. That's the thing. The feeding pattern didn't match anything I learned about in school. Probably coyotes, Simone said firmly. They'll strip a carcass pretty thoroughly. That's what I said, Joel added quickly. Linnart cleared his throat. We'll make a note in the log. Anything else to report? The subject changed to an upcoming supply run, and that was that. But I noticed Vernon didn't finish his dinner. Over the next few weeks, I started picking up on a pattern. There were certain topics that would cause the conversation to shut down right away. Any mention of the winter of 1979, for instance, missing persons cases from before 1980, specific sections
Lurk
of the
and sleep.
forest,
Good night.
particularly the northeastern quadrants near the Echo Trail area.
You may get
One
nightmares.
evening in the middle of
Sorry.
August, I was helping reorganize the storage room. It was one of those make-work tasks that they give to the new guy. And I found an old filing cabinet pushed against the back wall. The drawers were
Mickey, I
mostly
hope you like this, because
except
it's
for
coming
one
out good.
labeled Incident Reports, 1975.
Damn it.
I pulled it open. There should have been hundreds of reports in the 5 years span, but I found maybe 30. The rest had been removed, and not neatly.
Thought you was
could
going to
see
sleep.
torn edges where
Fine,
the
I'll
pages had been
stretch.
ripped out of binders. One partial report caught my attention.
Thank you for the head pats.
It was
I don't
from
know if it's working.
1976,
There it
and
goes.
most of the text had been redacted with black marker,
Nut.
but one line near the bottom was still legible. Visitor reported hearing crying man near Esther Lake. No source located. Recommend follow-up. Someone had written in pen at the bottom, no follow-up. Close file. I heard footsteps and shoved the file drawer closed. Simone appeared in the doorway. Finding everything okay? Yeah, just about done. She glanced at the filing cabinet, then at me. That's old storage. We don't use those files anymore. Really, we should just throw it all out. Sure, I said. She lingered for a moment, then left. I didn't mention a word about what I
I want to
found.
use an airbrush.
The real confrontation came several days later. A group of campers
I don't know
came into
why
the station mid-afternoon,
It does that.
clearly shaken up. They'd cut their trip short and wanted to report something. We heard someone in distress, the man said. His name was Derek, I think. Last night, around 3 in the morning, it sounded like a man crying, like really upset. We thought someone got hurt. Where were you camping? Leonard asked. Little Trout Lake. We even yelled out, asking if anyone needed help. But the crying just stopped for a minute. But then it started up again from a different direction. We couldn't find out where it was coming from. His wife added, It sounded wrong. I'm not sure how to explain it exactly, but like someone mimicking crying? I jumped in, trying to be helpful. Probably just a loon. They make sounds that can seem almost human, especially at night. Or maybe a lynx. I read that indigenous peoples around here used to have stories about... It was an animal, Dalton said sharply, cutting me off. That's all. Sound travels pretty weird across water at night, and loons can make very unsettling calls. The campers seemed satisfied with that explanation and left. After they were gone, Dalton pulled me aside by my upper arm, harder than necessary. We need to talk. Outside. He walked me behind the maintenance shed.
There,
at
that gives it
earshot
more
from
of a
the main
blue glow.
building. It felt
Like it's
like I was
supposed to.
about to get old Yellard. Stop it, he said. Stop what? Whatever you think you're going to say about what you've been reading or asking about, don't. I was just trying to help explain. I know exactly what you were about to say. His face was stone cold. Don't say that word here. Ever. I felt my temper and confusion rising. I had been walking on eggshells for weeks, trying to figure out why everyone acted so strange about certain things, and now my own brother was treating me like a child. What word, Dalton? Wendigo? Jesus Christ,
You
man.
could say
I was
Wendigo,
just gonna
you can't
mention
say
that
the
local
other.
legends might explain why sound seems scary to people at night. You know, folklore usually has a basis in... He went pale. Actually pale. Like blood had been instantly drained from his face. Don't say that word here. I'll leave out the curse he used. I'd actually never heard him curse at me before. We came from a family where cursing at someone was a serious thing. I just stared at him. You seriously believe in... He walked away. Just turned and walked back toward the main building, leaving me standing there. That night, I kept thinking about his reaction. Dalton was the most rational man I knew. He did not believe in ghosts or UFOs or Bigfoot. He read Scientific American and Consumer Reports, for Pete's sake. The idea that he'd react that way to what I considered superstitious nonsense did not make sense to me. But I'd seen something in his eyes. Scared. My elder brother was scared. I told myself it wasn't that. Maybe he was stressed. Station chief responsibilities were probably getting to him. I mean, he was the big boss in
Bam!
training. I had no idea what kind of anxiety he might have been going through. And maybe the isolation out here was harder than I thought. There had to be a good explanation for what happened. Looking back now, I realize how arrogant I was. I was so certain that my education and rational mind gave me the superior understanding. I was 23 and had spent 4 months in the woods. My brother had spent 8 years there. Some of the others much, much more than that. But I thought
Who's all here? I need to
knew
know.
better. That arrogance is why what happened next was my fault. I own that now.
Hi,
I've had plenty
everybody.
of time
Makes me happy.
to
This. Hi, Dragula.
The incident that started everything happened over Labor Day weekend, 1987.
Okay, now we go
The
back to
station
this.
was busy. It was the last big camping weekend before fall weather set in. Everyone was pulling extra shifts, and I was still somewhat in the doghouse with Dalton. So we'd been on different patrol rotations, which was fine with me. The tension between us could be exhausting. On Sunday, I was on duty at the station, handling radio calls and walk-ins, when a call came through around 4 in the afternoon. It was a fisherman, and he sounded middle-aged, trying to keep his voice steady and failing. I need to report something at Disappointment Lake. I need someone to come out here.
Who names a
He
lake
said.
disappointment?
What's
Honestly,
the nature of the emergency, sir? A pause. And then, I found someone. A body. It suddenly felt like I was underwater. Oh, are you certain they're deceased? There was another pause, and then, I'm certain. I've seen dead bodies before. This ain't. You need to send someone. We'll have a team out there within 2 hours. Can you provide your exact location? He gave coordinates for a small island on Disappointment Lake's eastern shore. He
You
said
sure
his
I'm on
name
the
was
right layer?
Curtis, and explained how he'd been fishing and seen something on the island that didn't look quite right. Leonard assigned Dalton and me. It was a 2-hour canoe trip from the nearest access point. Protocol was to send 2 rangers for any death investigation, and we were the most readily available. The paddle out was tense. Dalton and I hadn't really spoken since our argument. We stuck to operational communication. Should reach the access point by 5:30, he said. Copy that? I told him. This Curtis, the guy who called, did you get any other details from him? Just that he found a body on the island. Wouldn't elaborate over the radio. Dalton nodded. We paddled in silence after that. Curtis was waiting at the shore when we arrived, standing next to his canoe. He had a weathered face and hands that shook slightly when he pointed toward the island. It's about 200 yards that way.
Whoa.
Small island, mostly rock. I saw it from a distance and thought maybe it was a pile of clothes or something. But then I got closer. You didn't disturb the scene? Dalton asked. Hell no. Once I saw what that was, I came straight back and radioed you. Good. Stay here. We'll take a look and we'll report back. Curtis looked relieved not to be going back out there. Dalton and I paddled to the island. It was small, maybe 40 yards across, mostly granite outcropping with some scraggly pines. We saw the body from 20 feet away. Male, early 30s based on what I could tell. He'd been dead for several days. Decomposition was well underway in the late summer heat. He was lying on his back, or what was left of his back, near the center of the island. I'd seen dead animals before. I'd seen one dead person before, too. My grandfather in his casket. This was so much different. The man's face was locked in an expression I can still see whenever I close my eyes. His torso and legs had sustained massive trauma. Chunks of flesh were missing, but the wounds were not clean. They were torn and ragged, like something had ripped pieces away, rather than having bitten or cut them off. His hands were shredded, defensive wounds. The blood trail suggested he had been mobile during at least part of the attack, because there were drag marks and bloody handprints on the rock leading back toward the water, like he had tried to crawl away. His clothing was in tatters, scattered over a 30-foot area. One boot was in the water. The other was still on his foot. Dalton examined the scene more methodically. He was taking notes, not saying a word. But his face looked grim. I stood there, trying to catalog what I was seeing in some clinical terms, the way they'd taught us in training. Document, don't interpret. But my brain kept trying to interpret anyway. These wounds didn't match a coyote or a wolf or a bear attack. Bears bite and claw. They don't tear like this. For wolves, it was the wrong pattern, and for a coyote, it was too much damage. Dalton, I said, what could do something like this? I don't know yet. His voice was flat. But you have an idea? He didn't answer. He was looking at something beyond the body. I followed his gaze. About 50 yards up, on the other side of the island, there were 3 deer carcasses, all in various stages of decomposition, all showing the same ragged, tearing pattern. Curtis had noticed those too. Dalton keyed his radio. Station, this is Ranger Maccabee. We've located the deceased individual. Requesting full team response and medical examiner. This is a code yellow situation. There was static. Then Leonard's voice. Confirm. Code yellow. Affirmative. Multiple consistent indicators. A long pause. I could hear voices in the background at the station, but couldn't make out words. Eventually, Leonard came back on. Understood. Team will deploy at first light. Maintain position until then. Do not pursue any leads tonight. Do you copy? Copy that. We'll secure the scene. Leonard's voice changed then. Dalton, be careful out there. Will do, sir.
Oh, Ewok.
I waited until he'd hung up the radio.
Hi, Ewok. Welcome in, Raiders. For those who do not know me or just now getting around to know me, hello, my name is Rose. I am a Demon Dragon VTuber with ADHD, and welcome to my tavern. I will be your host tonight. I hope you enjoy. Thank you once again, Ewok, for the raid. How was stream? What'd you play?
A team will come at dawn with the medical examiner.
What'd you play?
Wait a
Where
minute,
Winds Meet? I
campfire
need to
with
play
a
that,
dead
but
body?
have not.
Yeah.
And also, hi, Lilith.
Curtis paddled away before sunset. Can't blame him for not wanting to stay. And we didn't need him to. Apparently, regulations said we had to maintain the scene, which meant staying on the island overnight.
Okay, something's broken. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait. Wait. Ah! I'm being moved. Double raid within the first like 30 minutes. Oh my god. Ow! Welcome in, Raiders from Lilith Street. Oh my god. Would you play Lilith? Fortnite? Hell yeah. I will not play Fortnite for a while because they replaced a good chunk of their employees with AI, and it pissed me off.
The sun set around 8:30.
Thank you for the follows for those who are just popping in.
It was early
That was a lot of
September,
people.
already getting cold. The fire helped, but not as much as I'd hoped. Around 11,
If y'all need to raid and run, you are more than welcome to. Make sure you get plenty of rest, plenty of eats, and plenty of sleeps.
Discovering
And make sure
that
you
I hadn't
hydrate.
that. It had me unsettled.
Hydrate or
The sound
dihydrate.
seemed too loud.
For those who are just now tuning in and didn't quite hear me due to the chaos, welcome in. For those who do not know me, hello, my name is Rose. I am a Demon Dragon VTuber with ADHD, and welcome to my tavern.
Because I
How's your
woke up
evening
suddenly
or morning
to find
going, depending on where you're
Dalton
located
sitting
off in the
chair,
world?
staring out across the
I
water
hope you
toward the
enjoy.
north shore. His rifle was across his lap. Oh, what? I started,
Thank you, Max, for the second.
telling me.
I know I will just did 24 hour. Oh my god, dude.
But then
We
I
started
did.
with our the Intel
Someone was
Fortnite.
crying.
I wasn't playing with Lilith, but I rated him and see you later. Bye, Luna.
It was distant.
I was not expected to
maybe
get
half a
raided.
mile away, coming from the direction
Oh my
of
god.
the shore. A man was
I don't know why a big slime comes down. I need to fix that.
just crying deep sobs.
We are listening
with
to
Terry across
Wendigo
the water.
stories, so if you are scared of native
I
lore,
whispered,
I do apologize
"Don't
in
shine your
advance.
light towards
But
me.
I am
Do not
Cherokee.
call out, and
It's not
don't
really our
move.
tribe, but it's something
Red,
I
do you
still
hear me?
am terrified of.
Move. I nodded my head. I had never heard Dalton's voice sound like that. So tight, so controlled.
That is
and
not what I
scared.
wanted.
The crying continued for about 15 minutes. It would fade away, then swell again. And at one point, it seemed to move, coming from a different location to the west. And then it stopped. Complete silence. Even the wind went quiet. Dalton stayed exactly where he was, rifle ready for another hour. I don't think he even blinked.
Oh my god.
I watched
Oh
his
my god,
eyes,
Lilith.
the
Oh
way
my
they were
god,
trembling.
Lilith and Ewok. Jesus, that's a lot of people. Now I'm nervous.
When false dawn finally started lighting the eastern sky around 5:30, Dalton finally moved.
Spooter, you see the
He
shit?
stood up, stretched. and
Lilith,
started to
I
break down our
don't
camp
believe
without a
I
word.
have yet, but
I
Bop, bop,
wanted
bop.
to ask him about the crying.
oops.
I wanted to demand him to tell me what the hell was going on. But something about the look on his
I'm getting better
face
about spelling your
stopped
name.
me. The rest
Oops.
of our team arrived just
There
after
you go.
7.
You
Simone,
VIP.
Joel, and Vernon, plus the county medical examiner.
I say
and
this
2
is looking
sheriff's
really good. I
deputies.
hope Mickey enjoys it.
They took photos, bagged the body, and documented everything.
Oh,
I overheard part of a
Lilith,
conversation between
are you still
them
here?
and the medical
And Ewok.
examiner while they were loading the body into the canoe.
I want to show you.
Same as 79. The
Sorry, I
examiner
got choked
asked
up for a
calmly,
second.
"We
I want to show y'all
talked
the
about something
animation I
else,"
did.
Leonard said.
I don't know
The
if y'all have
examiner
seen it
nodded.
yet. Spooter, I know you have
Animal
not,
attack,
but look at this.
species undetermined. That's what I'll put in the report.
Hopefully the button works.
I appreciate that. Back at the station, there was an emergency team meeting. All rangers present.
I
Leonard
made
laid
that.
out new protocols. No solo patrols in the northeastern quadrants until further notice.
That's
All
my
rangers
first
to carry
hand-drawn
rifles on patrol,
animation.
not just
No
sidearms.
PC required,
Visitor
just
access to
hand-drawn
certain areas
animation.
would be temporarily suspended for wildlife management purposes, and absolute radio silence on speculation about the death. The medical
I accidentally
examiner has ruled an animal
undeafened.
attack, Leonard said. That's the official determination. If anyone asks, that's what we tell them. We don't speculate. on the
Undeafened.
species. We don't
me.
share graphic details. We express sympathy for the deceased and his family, and we move on. Understood? Everyone nodded. Good. Dismissed. As people filed out, I heard Vernon say quietly to Simone, "Third time's the pattern."
Are we back from ads?
She shushed him immediately. That night, lying in my bunk, My brain kept circling.
I need
back
to
the
do
same
the
questions.
eyebrows,
The wounds
but
in the
we will
body and
get to
those
that
old
in a bit.
carcasses, the crying we'd heard, Dalton Sphere and Code Yellow, the winter of '79.
Oh, where's it going?
Everyone
I
seemed
heard it.
terrified
Oh, there he
to
goes.
say out loud. I told myself I was
Ow!
being rational.
Mickey!
I told myself
I'm gonna
there
get
had
you,
to be a
Goober.
logical explanation. Maybe a mentally ill person living in these woods. Maybe a rare predator species. Could be some combination of factors that created an unusual situation. But I also knew that I'd heard something out there on that island. And whatever it was, it had made my brother, who had done 2 tours in the forest, who'd faced down bears and evacuated injured hikers and dealt with armed poachers, shake with fear. I should have let it go. I should have trusted that silence. But I was 23. And again, I thought I knew better. That was my mistake.
How dare you
Over
make
the
that
next
mistake?
week, I became obsessed. That's the only word for it. I spent my off hours in the station's small library. Really just a room with 3 bookcases full of forestry manuals, old National Geographic magazines, and donated paperbacks. But there were also personal notebooks.
Mickey,
left
how do you
behind by
liking it so
previous
far?
rangers. Logs that
I'm
went
giving the
back
black kind of a
decades.
purple aesthetic.
Most were what you'd expect. Weather reports and wildlife
Like
sightings
purple
and
hue?
maintenance notes. But some had pages torn out.
Also, for those who are
Clean
interested, I do
tears.
have comms up.
Reminded
I'm
me
trying
of
to
that
save up
filing
for
drawer,
a
the way
laptop.
the documents had very apparently been torn out.
Ah!
One notebook from 1976 had
Someone
an
what to
annotation
do.
that caught my attention. 3rd incident this month. VK suggests
A
revival
good way
of
to
old
get my
protocols.
attention is via
The
Discord,
entries
which you could
after that
do
date were
exclamation
sparse
Discord in
and
the
vague,
chat.
with no mention of what the incidents were or what the old
If
protocols
interested.
involved.
If not, that's fine.
VK. That had to be Vernon. He had been working here since the mid-70s. I found him one evening after dinner, sitting on the bench outside the maintenance shed, smoking a cigarette. Vernon was one of those people who seemed to exist on the periphery of every gathering, present but separate. I'd noticed he ate quickly and left the common room before anyone else. He volunteered for solo patrols more than the rest of us. Hey,
Ah!
can I ask you something?
Being a
said.
booze, you just trying to
He
get your
turned red
nanner in my
and
mouth.
breathed out slowly. You can ask. What happened here in the winter of 1979? Vernon looked at me for a while.
Hey, yo.
Then he
She's
struggled
been
with
doing
his
it every
cigarette
fucking
and
stream.
stood up. Good night, Red. Look, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm trying to understand all this. A man died out there. We found him torn apart, and everyone's acting like we should just file paperwork and move on. Vernon stopped, then turned back to me. You want to understand? Then understand this. There are things in these woods older than Minnesota itself. Older than America, older than any name we've put to them. The only reason they leave us alone is because we leave them alone. You're talking about folklore. I'm talking about respecting silence. He studied my face. Your brother ever tell you why he almost quit back in '79? No. That should tell you something. Vernon started to walk again. Some things aren't meant to be poked at, son. Some sleeping dogs should stay sleeping. He went into the bunkhouse and closed the door. The next incident happened 12 days after we found the body at Disappointment Lake. Mid-September, late afternoon. Joel and Simone were responding to a camper report about 2 miles north of Hegman Lake. A group
Shimmy,
had
shimmy,
found
shimmy,
their
shimmy,
food
shimmy.
cache destroyed. They'd hung it up properly, 12 feet up between 2 trees, like you're supposed to. But something had torn it down and shredded the bags. All the meat was gone. The dried goods
Not the
were scattered,
meat.
but uneaten. That alone wasn't unusual. Bears can be persistent and clever. But when Joel and Simone arrived, the campers reported that their dog was missing too. They found the dog a quarter-mile away.
Oh, not the
Simone's voice
pupper.
came over the radio while I was manning the station. She sounded different and cautious. "Station, this is Reuter. We have another yellow situation requesting Ojikongas respond." That was Leonard. Leonard's jaw tightened. "Copy.
Sorry, I'm trying to
Maintain
scratch
position.
my back. It's very
I'm
difficult.
en route with Maccabee." He
Uh,
had
knife.
meant Dalton,
Knife for
not
back
me.
scratching.
But
Yes.
Dalton was 2 hours away on patrol near Fall Lake.
Where'd it go?
I was
Where'd it go?
unavailable.
Shit, I paused it. I didn't mean to.
Respond,
Oh,
I said.
I think it flew
Leonard
off
hesitated,
screen. I got you. Hold
then
on.
nodded.
Which one was it? I
Good
haven't
idea.
played around with my own.
The hike out took about 90 minutes. We found Joel and Simone with the campers who looked
Is it
shaken.
summon me?
Their dog was a golden retriever, apparently,
Nope.
though it was hard to tell.
Throw me.
The carcass had been partially eaten, accompanied by those familiar ragged tears.
There it
The
goes.
campers were a couple in their 40s who had done this route a dozen
Oh,
times.
I just threw my pin.
They weren't the type to spook easily, but they were beyond spooked now. We heard something last
Fuck
night,
AI art.
the woman
Just
said.
saying.
Around 2 in the morning,
Creativity
crying like someone
makes
was in
this
pain.
happen.
We thought maybe another camper had gotten injured, but we couldn't find him.
Oh, where'd he
Yeah,
go?
It moved. Her husband.
Where did I go? I just flew off
Weird
into the
one
void.
direction, then a minute later, it would come from somewhere else entirely. Leonard and Simone exchanged a look.
Also, for those
We'll
who are
escort you out.
interested,
Leonard
I
said.
have posted new
Joel
videos
documented
on
the scene,
YouTube.
Rhett
I need to make
helped him.
exclusive content just for
While
YouTube,
Joel took photos and measurements, I examined the carcass more closely.
like special
I'd
games,
grown up
special
around hunting.
announcements.
I'd field-dressed deer, seen how predators fed. But this was all wrong compared to that. How could something look like it was bitten, but not have any teeth marks at all?
That is a very good
Don't
question. You should
overthink
ask
it.
yourself.
Joel said quietly. How can you not overthink this? He lowered his camera. Because overthinking it doesn't help. It doesn't change anything. Just makes you start seeing things and hearing things that aren't there. Or makes you see and hear things that are there. Rhett, man, he looked uncomfortable. Just take my advice. Let this go. We hiked back and didn't say another word. Over the next week, the pattern expanded. Three more animal carcasses were found within a 10-mile radius of the original incidents. A deer
Darken
near
some
Stewart Lake,
areas.
a beaver at Moose River, an otter at Basswood Lake, all partially eaten, showing the same tearing pattern. The locations formed a rough arc, it looked like, moving south and east, toward more populated areas, toward the main access points. Hikers started to report odd experiences, feeling watched, hearing sounds we had difficulty matching to any known wildlife. 2 separate groups mentioned hearing crying in the middle of the night. One couple claimed they'd seen someone crouching by a creek near their campsite around dawn. When they'd called out to ask if the person needed help, the figure had looked up, then moved away on all fours before disappearing into the trees.
Why does this remind me of
That
a
couple
Night Court
left the
cover?
forest immediately, filing a formal complaint about disturbed individuals being allowed to camp in the back country. Leonard instituted expanded closures. More areas became off limits to visitors. We told people it was due to increased bear activity and ongoing wildlife management surveys. Most accepted the explanation, but some grumbled and still complied. The station fell into a tense routine. Patrols went out in pairs, always armed. Radio checking became more frequent. People stopped lingering after dinner. Vernon started to take his meals alone in the bunkhouse. But I just couldn't let it go. The more everyone insisted we treat this as routine wildlife management, the more I knew it wasn't. The evidence was mounting. Whatever was out there was active, aggressive, and expanding its range. During a staff meeting on September 28th, Leonard was discussing the closure protocols when I spoke up. Sir, we're shutting down half the forest. Because of what, exactly? A bear with unusual hunting patterns? Why aren't we calling in wildlife experts? Wildlife control? Why aren't we documenting this properly? It is being documented properly, Leonard said. But why all the secrecy? Why code yellow? Why won't anyone talk about what actually happened in 79? Simone cut in. Rhett, drop it. No.
I like
I'm
how you
tired
can
of
see
being
the little
treated like I'm
icons
not
for us.
clear
Yeah.
to know basic operational information. Someone's got to say it. You all think there's a Wendigo out there. The word
Y'all are
hung
getting on
there.
VRC.
Vernon
Mickey told me
stood up
y'all
and
weren't
walked
going to
out
be on
without
for a
word.
while.
Joel stared at me like I'd just set the building ablaze. Simone's face went hard, and Leonard closed his eyes briefly, the way you do when you're counting to 10. Meeting adjourned, Leonard said. Everyone filed out except me and Leonard. He gathered his papers slowly, not looking at me. Sir, I want to understand what's happening. I have a right to know what I'm dealing with out there. What you're dealing with is a situation that's been handled according to established protocols. Protocols that exist for good reasons. What reasons? The kind that kept people alive before you got
Yeah.
here.
I'm almost done, honestly.
Did you know your brother took a leave of absence in January of 1980? No, I didn't know that. He didn't tell you he spent 3 weeks in the hospital? That he couldn't speak for the first 5 days? That he had to go through counseling before they'd clear him to return to duty? I said nothing. Dalton had never mentioned a word of this. Leonard continued. Smart kid. Capable. A lot like you, actually. Thought he had all the answers. He headed for the door. The difference is Dalton learned, but you haven't. I found Dalton outside by the equipment shed. He was checking inventory, making notes on a clipboard. When he saw me approaching, his posture changed. He looked defensive. Don't, he said. We've got to talk about it. No, we really don't. Leonard told me you were hospitalized? He told me you had some kind of breakdown. Dalton's hand tightened on the clipboard. He had no right to tell you that. Then why didn't you tell me? Before I came out here, why didn't you warn me?
Mickey.
Warn you about what, Rhett? What exactly do you think I should have said? He threw the clipboard down. Should I have told my little brother, who was so excited about his first real job, that sometimes people die in the woods in ways that don't make sense, and sometimes you hear things that shouldn't exist, that the Forest Service has protocols for situations that can't be explained in any official capacity? Yes, actually, that's what you should have told me. You wouldn't have believed me.
There's
You
the
would have thought
line
I'd
work
lost
there,
my
but...
mind.
Or not
He
line
picked
work,
up the
but...
clipboard.
You know.
You still think I've lost my mind, though? You think we're all caught up in superstition
One thing I
out
need to
here,
fix,
freaked out about
because I
folklore?
forgot to fix it,
It's not that.
is
I think something is happening that we don't understand.
this right
And
here.
instead of trying to investigate it, everyone's pretending it's not even happening. You think this is a game? Dalton's voice rose. Do you think we're not taking it seriously? We're taking it so seriously that we've implemented every single protocol we have to contain it. We've closed down half the forest. We're running armed patrols. We're monitoring every report. What exactly do you think we should be doing differently? How about stop dancing around what it is? I can't explain it to you. I can't make it make sense because it doesn't make sense. He was shouting now. All I know is that in the winter of 79, 3 people died in these woods, and before
Ow!
they died, people
Mickey,
would
what
not
color are
stop
the
talking
horns?
about it. wouldn't stop speculating, and wouldn't stop using that name. And then it stopped, Red. It stopped when we stopped talking about it. That's correlation, Dalton, not causation. I was there. I was 24 years old, and it was my second year, and I saw what they found. I heard the sounds, and I watched it end the moment we instituted the silence protocol. He stepped closer. You want to know what I saw? You want to know why I spent 3 weeks in a hospital? Yes, I do. Jesus Christ. I saw a man I'd worked with for 2 years, someone I ate breakfast with every morning, reduced to parts scattered across a quarter-mile of forest. I saw wounds that should not exist. I heard him scream over the radio while something killed him, and we were 40 minutes away and couldn't do anything to help. I heard those screams for months afterward, every time I closed my eyes. I didn't know what to say. So yes, Dalton continued, quieter now. I believe in certain legends, because I've seen what happens when you don't respect them. And I'll be damned if I'm going to watch my little brother make the same mistakes I did. He walked away. I stood there for a long time, trying to process what he told me. Part of me wanted to apologize. Part of me still thought there had to be a rational explanation, that everyone was too traumatized to see clearly. That second part won out. That's the part I regret now. The incident stopped a few weeks later. No new carcasses and no reports of unusual sounds or sightings. The forest seemed to settle back into its normal rhythm. Leonard began cautiously discussing when we might lift some of the closures. Maybe it's moved on, he said during a briefing. Migrated to a different territory. Vernon, who had barely spoken in days, said quietly, or maybe it's close enough that it doesn't need to hunt so obviously anymore. That's not helpful, Vernon, Simone said. Neither is complacency. But as days passed without incident, the tension at the station eased. People began to joke again at dinner. Patrols felt less like combat operations and more like regular work. Even Dalton seemed to relax a bit. Though
Hi,
he and I
Lilith.
weren't really talking all that much. I felt vindicated in a way. The panic had been overblown. Whatever had caused the deaths and the unusual predation pattern had moved on, just like Leonard said. It had been a bear or a pack of wolves with atypical behavior, and now they had migrated elsewhere. The silence protocol hadn't stopped a thing. The danger had simply run its natural course. Looking back now, I can't believe how stupid I was. How arrogant, how absolutely certain that my limited education and my 23 years of life gave me better judgment than people who'd spent decades in those woods. The call came in one day at 4:30 in the afternoon. A young couple, panicked voices over the radio. They'd hiked into the Hog Creek area despite the closure signs. The woman had fallen and injured her ankle. They needed help, but that wasn't why they sounded terrified. The man explained, his voice high and tight. Something came into our camp. My girlfriend tried to run and that's when she fell. It's getting dark. Please, you have to send someone. Can you describe what you saw? Leonard asked. I don't... It was... Please just send help. In the background, we could hear the woman crying. The man came in again. It's still here. I can hear it crying. Leonard looked at the duty board. Dalton and I were the closest. Simone was already committed to a medical evac near Knife Lake. Joel was at the far end of his patrol route. It'll take us 90 minutes to reach them, Dalton said, looking at the map.
Actually, before
It's
I do
going to
that,
be close to sunset, Leonard said. I know. Vernon appeared in the doorway. Take the Remington, not your service pistol. Dalton nodded and went to the gun safe. I grabbed my pack and followed him out. The hike to Hog Creek took us through
These
dense
beats
forest
I really
along a trail
struggled
that had
with.
seen minimal maintenance. The couple had gone in despite
These
closure
ones I'm
signs,
not really
which meant
gonna
they'd either
really
ignored
focus
multiple
on
warnings or hadn't seen them in
because
their
they're
eagerness
small
to find
enough
a
where it
secluded
doesn't
spot.
really worry about the
Dalton
blending.
set a brutal pace.
From the
He
back
had the
here,
Remington, a .308 Winchester, much heavier
You know.
firepower than our standard sidearms, slung across his back. I was carrying the medical kit and emergency supplies. We'd been hiking for maybe 30 minutes when I smelled it. Rot, but far from that normal decay smell you get in the forest. It was like meat mixed with spoiled coffee, but throw in a spoiled kiwi while we're at it. It was so uniquely disgusting that my stomach turned. Dalton stopped, unslung the rifle, then checked the chamber. "Stay close," he said. "What is that smell?" "Keep moving." Another 20 minutes in, we heard it, faint at first.
Ow!
Crying.
Hi,
Like
Mickey.
tent.
Mickey, you
A
haven't
man
answered my
weeping,
question.
Mournful and sustained.
It's
It seemed to come
there.
from west of the trail, maybe 200 yards out. I looked at Dalton. His face went all tight. "Don't look toward it. Don't call out. Don't shine your light in that direction. Just keep walking." "Shouldn't we?" "No. We keep walking." And that's what we did. The
Gentle.
crying continued. Following us,
Ow.
not getting closer, but not fading away. It maintained the same distance.
Stop trying to land your
pacing us
naners in
through
my
the
mouth.
forest. The light was failing fast. We'd left at 4:45.
Y'all are just
and it was past
abusing me.
6 now.
I'm just
Sunset
drawing.
at this time of year comes early in northern Minnesota. The shadows between the trees were already deep. I couldn't help myself. I glanced to the left, toward where the crying was coming from. Through the trees, maybe 100 yards out, I saw a pale figure, hunched over in a way that looked very painful. The proportions seemed off, but the light was bad, and the distance made details beyond that impossible. It was rocking back and forth. The crying sound was coming from it. Dalton grabbed my shoulder hard enough to hurt.
Hey, that's
"Move
more realistic.
now." We moved faster, but the crying followed. The couple's camp was a disaster when we reached it.
I like that.
Just after 6:30. Their tent had been scorched, not
Ow!
torn. Food was scattered everywhere. The sleeping bag had been dragged
Goobers.
about 20 feet and shredded. The man was
Right
in his
here,
early
we're gonna add
20s,
another
sitting
layer.
with his back against a
We
tree
are going
holding a
to focus
hatchet.
on the
His
eyebrows.
girlfriend was on the ground next to him, her right ankle visibly
Are y'all
swollen.
trying to tell me to check
Both of
Discord
them
or something?
looked like they'd been crying. "Thank God," the man said. His name was Brendan.
Black or
"Thank
blue
God you're here."
is good. Okay.
Dalton went straight to the girlfriend. "Casey, I'm Ranger Maccabee. Let me look at that ankle." While he examined her, I did a quick perimeter check. The camp was maybe 30 yards from Hog Creek itself, set in a small clearing. There was good visibility, which the couple had probably chosen for exactly that reason. They could see anything approaching, except they hadn't seen what destroyed the camp. "When did this happen?" I asked Brendan. "Around 4. We were at the creek washing up, and
I'm gonna
when
add
we
a
came
little bit of
back, the
purple
tent
as
was
well.
like this. We heard something in the trees, something moving around, and Casey panicked and ran, and that's when she fell. Did you see what it was?" "No, but we heard it. Breathing, heavy breathing, right outside the tent fabric before we came back. And then, after Casey fell, we heard the crying." Dalton finished his examination. "Ankle's broken. We need to get her out of here tonight." "Can she walk?" I asked. "With support, slowly, but we need to move now. Full dark in 30 minutes. We packed quickly. Just the essentials. Everything else got left behind. Dalton fashioned a basic splint for Casey's ankle using gear from our kit and some tent poles from their destroyed tent. The crying had stopped while we were working. The silence afterward was somehow worse. I'll take point, Dalton said. Rhett, you help Casey. Brendan, you're in the middle. Stay close. Stay quiet. If I tell you to run, you run, and you don't look back. Understood? We all nodded. The first 20 minutes went smoothly. Casey was tough. She bit down on the pain and kept moving, with me supporting her weight. Brendan carried the packs, and Dalton led with the rifle ready, using his flashlight to mark the trail. Then we heard it again. Not behind us, but ahead of us, on the trail. Crying. That mournful cry. Dalton stopped.
Ow!
We all stopped.
Karma!
The sound came closer, still ahead, but moving towards us. Off the trail, Dalton went. Into the trees, slowly. We moved into the forest on the right side of the trail. Dense underbrush,
Just losing me.
especially with Casey's injury. But we managed 20 feet before Dalton
Thank you
signaled
for the
to
check-in,
stop.
Gentle.
Through the trees, we could see the trail in the light from Dalton's dropped
It's all
flashlight.
coming together.
Something moved into the beam. I saw it clearly for the first time. It was shaped like a man. Naked, the skin gray-white, pulled tightly over bones that showed clearly. It was
I
emaciated to a
wonder what
degree
this would look
that
like
didn't
if
seem
I mess with
believable.
this.
The rib cage was visible. The joints looked swollen.
This is
and
normal. That's
horrible,
like,
but somehow it moved.
ooh,
Standing upright,
yes.
but with that pained-looking posture. Its spine was curved forward, the legs bent slightly backward at the ankle,
Ow!
like it could drop
What?
to all fours in an
What
instant.
y'all want?
And it was crying. Tears ran down its face. The mouth hung open,
Okay, hold on.
slack, but the crying sound didn't come from the mouth. It
The fuck y'all want?
You were just sitting here using our PFPs for
dude.
content.
Enjoy the potassium.
Oh my fucking god.
You're just using our PFPs for content.
I think it's people are trying. God damn it.
More potassium.
came from deeper from its chest, resonating. Casey made a small sound, and the thing's head snapped towards us. That face. I can still see it. Sunken eyes that reflected the flashlight beam like some wild
I thought they were
animals.
trying to get my attention.
Lips pulled back from teeth that looked too large. An expression of anguish and hunger mixed violently together. It took a step towards us. Dalton stepped out onto the trail, raising the rifle. Back off! The thing took another step. Dalton fired into the air, the shot echoing through the forest. The thing didn't flinch. It made a different sound now. Under the crying, a whining noise. It was hungry. Dalton fired again, this time at the ground in front of it. Dirt and rocks sprayed up. The thing moved. It dropped to all fours and came at us so fast. Not running,
Jesus.
but something else. A scrambling, loping movement that covered ground impossibly quick. Dalton fired center mass. I saw the impact, saw it stagger, but it didn't go down.
That looks
Then it
really
vanished
cute.
into
I
the
like that.
dark, only to reappear from a different angle, coming from the trees on our left. How could it move that fast? It was so difficult to track, one moment in front of us, the next, circling us through the trees. It's flanking us, Dalton shouted. Rhett, when I say go, you run. Get them to the canoes. I'm not... That's an order. The thing lunged again from a new position. Dalton spun and fired, hitting it in the shoulder.
What if
It
I
staggered, but used that impossible speed to circle back.
did that
It
instead?
hit Dalton from the side, having covered the distance in seconds. They both went down. The rifle flew from Dalton's hands, landing 10 feet away. The thing was on top of him, moving fast, jittering almost. It had his left arm in its mouth. Dalton screamed. I dropped Casey's arm and ran forward, grabbing the rifle. I couldn't shoot. The two of them were tangled up together, I might hit Dalton. Blood was spraying, black in the flashlight. The thing was tearing at his arm, shaking its head like a dog with a toy. I swung the rifle like a club, connecting with the thing's head. A solid hit. The stock cracked. It let go of Dalton and turned to me. We were face to face, less than 2 feet apart. The eyes were terrible. Nothing human in them, just hunger. Bottomless hunger and rage and something else I don't have words for. The smell that came off of it made me gag. And then it
Link
lunged.
overlay.
Dalton, his left arm hanging all wrong, grabbed it from behind with his right hand, got hold of its neck, and pulled it backward. The thing twisted, inhumanly flexible, and began to claw at him. The creature kept writhing that unnatural speed and flexibility, letting it twist in ways that shouldn't be possible. Dalton was still screaming, but not from pain now, from effort. He had the thing in some kind of hold, using his body weight to keep it down, but it kept nearly breaking free. Run! Run! His voice didn't sound right. It was so raw and desperate. Get them out! Run! Brendan was already pulling Casey away. She was sobbing, but I stood there frozen. Dalton and the thing were rolling on the ground. The creature's movements were so fast and erratic, it was like fighting smoke. Breaking free, twisting back, lunging again, in one fluid nightmare of motion. Rhett, go! I ran. I grabbed Brendan, half-carried Casey with him, and we crashed through the forest back toward the trail. Behind us, Dalton screamed again, different than the last. And the sound.
Yeah, that
cut
looks
off.
clean.
We ran. I don't remember the details of the hike out. My brain was in pure panic. We hit the trail and followed
However,
it by
I'm going to
flashlight.
use a different brush.
Casey wasn't crying anymore. She'd gone quiet, in shock, probably. Brendan kept asking about what was happening, and I couldn't answer, because I didn't have an answer. We made it to the canoe launch after midnight. I got them into a canoe and paddled out until I felt safe, and got on the radio. Station, this is Maccabee, officer down, single attacker, need immediate support. Medical evac, send everyone. My voice sounded strange, flat like someone else was using my mouth.
Rhett,
It was Leonard.
what's your location?
I gave him the coordinates.
Who's down?
Dalton. We were attacked. He told me to get the civilians out. He's still out there.
What attacked you?
I couldn't say it. Couldn't make the words come out. I don't know. It looked like a person, but it wasn't. Please send help.
Copy. Response team deploying. Stay at the launch point. Do not go back in. Do you understand me?
Yes.
Rhett, do not go back in.
I feel like a
didn't
little
go
bit of
back
gold
in.
aesthetic
I sat at the launch with Brendan and
would
Casey
make this pop
until
a
the
little
first
bit.
response vehicle arrived 40 minutes later. Then more vehicles. Ambulance for Casey, sheriff's deputies. Simone showed up with Joel. Leonard arrived in his personal truck, still in civilian clothes. They organized a search team. 8 people, heavily armed with portable lights. I tried to go with them, but Leonard wouldn't allow it. You're in shock. You stay here. They found Dalton 3 hours later. He was half a mile from where we'd been attacked. He'd crawled part of the way, walked part of the way too. His left arm was hanging by tissue and skin. Everything else had been
Ow!
muscle, tendons, most of the body. He'd lost enough blood that he should have been dead.
Y'all
But
just
he
like
was
a
conscious when they found him. Conscious and having and going into shock, but alive. The medical helicopter took him to Duluth. I wasn't allowed to go with them. Leonard went to the hospital instead. A 3-hour drive, and for the most part, we did. Dalton was in surgery for 7 hours. They tried to save him, but couldn't. Too much damage. They amputated below the elbow. I wasn't allowed to see him for a week. Family only. And they didn't seem to want to count on me until our parents arrived from Wisconsin. My mother looked at me like I'd done it myself. When I finally got into his room, Dalton was awake. The stump of his left arm was bandaged. He looked gray. "Hey," I said. He turned his head and looked at me. Didn't say anything. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. You should have listened," he said. His voice was rough. "You should have listened." That was all he said. And then he told me visiting hours. I left. The official report called it an animal attack, species undefined. Dalton's statement to the sheriff was brief. Dark conditions, attacked by something he couldn't identify. He'd fought it off long enough for me to get the civilians to safety. The medical examiner noted that the wounds were inconsistent with known predator patterns, but couldn't offer an alternative explanation. Brendan and Casey gave a statement about seeing an emaciated man. That statement was noted.
Man, I'm just trying to draw.
The official conclusion suggested they'd misidentified a bear in poor lighting, traumatic conditions. No search was conducted for the attacker. The area was designated for community closure, pending further wildlife assessment. Vernon retired that month, which was a month earlier than he planned. He didn't finish out his notice period, packed his things, and left. Joel requested a transfer in November and got sent to Chicago. I heard later he quit the first service entirely within a year. Leonard stayed on as chief, but he looked 10 years older in a matter of months. I tried to keep working. I went back on patrol early the next month, maybe 3 days before I found a deer carcass with the same tearing pattern we'd seen before. I had a complete breakdown. Couldn't breathe and couldn't move. Simone had to talk me down over the river before I could hike back out. I requested leave December 18th. I made it permanent on December 3rd. He accepted my resignation without comment. Before I left, I had one final conversation with him in the office. "It's not your fault," he said. "He lost his arm because of me. He lost his arm because something in these woods is wrong. It has been wrong longer than either of us are alive. He was a Christian, but he broke the protocol. You invited attention. So that silence thing, it's not superstition. The silence is survival." He opened his desk drawer and pulled out a folder. Old and yellowed pages. Winter of 1979. We lost 3 people in 6 weeks. Before that, in 1962, we lost 2. In 47, 4 died. Every incident was preceded by the same thing. People talking about it, speculating, using the name. And every incident stopped when we stopped talking. That doesn't make sense. No, it doesn't. But it's documented, and it's consistent, and it's the only thing that's ever worked. He closed the folder. Some things don't have explanations, Rhett. They just have patterns. And the smart thing is to respect the patterns even when you don't understand them. I went back to Wisconsin, my parents' house. A grown man sleeping back in his childhood bedroom, jumping at every sound outside. I fell apart over the next few years. Moved to Duluth, then Minneapolis. I couldn't hold a job for more than a few months, and my relationships failed. I drank too much. I was angry all the time, at myself mostly. But it spilled over onto everyone around me. Dalton and I didn't speak from 1988 to 1995. I'd call on holidays and he'd be polite and distant. He got married, had kids, built a life, and I wasn't part of it. Finally, I sobered up in 1999. I started to put things back together. I reached out to Dalton again. Really reached out this time. He was accepting. We rebuilt something, not what we had before, but something. He tells people he lost his arm in an industrial accident. His kids don't know the truth. His wife might, but I've never asked. We never talk about that night. We never talk about Superior National Forest. Never talk about what happened. Until now. One year, I saw Vernon's death in the newspaper, in the obituaries. He died at 88 years old, survived by 3 children and 7 grandchildren. I wanted to attend the funeral, but I thought that wouldn't be right. He wouldn't have wanted me there. But his passing got me thinking about that time and about what happened, about all the people who know what's in those woods and keep quiet about it. Then last month, Dalton's daughter called me. She's 20, studying environmental science at the University of Minnesota. She wants to be a park ranger. Dad won't talk about his time in the Forest Service, but you were there. Can you tell me what it's really
Banana.
like? She asked.
Wait, did you use bits for
I
that?
gave her the same lie I've given everyone for
Mickey, you
36
didn't have
years.
to.
That it was
I want
hard
to get
work
this
and
done
I
before
decided
joining
it wasn't for
VRC.
me.
I thought
After I hung up, I realized
it was going to
needed
be a while
temperature.
before y'all got on, because
Not to
normally it
my
is.
niece. She doesn't need this weight. But to someone, to anyone who might listen,
Stop using your
I don't
bits.
expect you
Keep
to
'em.
believe in the Wendigo. I barely believe it myself, and I saw it. But I believe in this. Some legends are warnings. When people who live close to the wild tell you not to speak of it, there's a reason. When folklore says a name gives power, there's wisdom there, even if you can't see the mechanism. I was young, arrogant, rational, I thought. Believed I knew better than people who'd spent decades learning the patterns of that place. And my brother ended up being the one to pay the price. Because I had to push and pry about it. I broke the silence. I own that. I've spent decades owning it. I'm going to visit Dalton next week. I've printed this out. I'm going to show it to him first, before I share it with anyone else. I don't know if he'll approve of me telling this story. He might ask me not to. If he does, I'll respect that. I owe him that much and more. But I hope he'll understand why I needed to write it down. Why I need to get it off my chest. Not for forgiveness. I don't think I deserve that. But maybe so that someone else will learn what I learned. That the old ways exist for good reasons. Sometimes silence
It's
is
just
the
about
only
done,
shield
so
we have.
that being said. I kind of want to add a texture to the horns because they're kind of bare.
What my grandchildren saw. From Anonymous.
That one.
This was back in October 2016. 8 years ago now, though it feels like yesterday when I think about it. For the sake of my family's anonymity, I'll be changing the names in this story. My daughter Sharon called me on Wednesday, asked if I could watch Mason and Emma for the weekend. She and her
Yeah.
husband Rick were going to Thunder Bay for their 15th anniversary. Of course, I said yes. I always said yes when it came to the grandkids. Mason was 11 then. Emma had just turned 8 that September. They were great kids. Mason was the quiet one, had his nose in a book whenever he could. Fantasy stuff, I think, mostly. I remember some dragons and wizards on covers. Emma was the opposite. Couldn't sit still for 5 minutes. Full of energy, that one. They loved coming over to my place because I let them do things their parents wouldn't. They stayed up a bit later, had cookies before dinner, played in the woods out back. I live about 40 minutes outside of town in northwestern Ontario. I won't say exactly where, just to be safe.
Sorry.
My late husband Earl and I bought the property in 1978. 40 acres, backs right onto Crown land. Nothing but forest for miles and miles in every direction. We raised Sharon and her brother David here. They practically lived in those woods growing up. Never had any trouble. Well, not the kind I'm about to tell you about, anyway. The kids arrived on a Friday after school.
You know
Sharon
what,
barely
let's
got the car
also
stopped
turn these
before they were
gold.
piling out. Mason lugged his
Just to
backpack
fit the
full of
aesthetic.
books, and Emma clutched that stuffed rabbit she carried everywhere. even though she kept insisting she was too old for her stuffed animals. Be good for Grandma, Sharon called out, but they were already racing for the house. They knew I'd have fresh chocolate chip cookies waiting because, well, I always did. That first night was normal. We had
Gentle,
spaghetti for dinner
Gentle,
because
are you
that was
here?
Emma's favorite. We watched a cartoon movie about a princess. I dozed off halfway through. When I woke up, I found Mason reading by the lamp and Emma curled up against me like a little cat. I got them both
You
tucked
should
in to the
do
guest room by 10,
readings like this.
which was pretty late
You
for
have the
them,
voice
but
to do
that's
it.
what grandmas are for, right? Saturday morning was beautiful. We'd had frost overnight, and everything sparkled. You could see mist rising off the lake through the trees from my kitchen window. I was making pancakes when Emma came padding out in her pajamas, dragging her rabbit behind her. Grandma, can we play outside after breakfast? Course you can, sweetheart. Just bundle up warm, it's chilly out. Mason appeared
Honestly,
then,
you
already
should.
dressed, with another book in his hand. That boy was probably reading
Be good
while he was
content.
sleeping. After breakfast, which was pancakes with real maple syrup, a gift
Most of
from
these
our
you can
neighbors,
find off
they
Reddit.
practically flew out the door. I watched from the window as they raced across the backyard toward the trees. We had rules, of course. Stay within shouting distance. Don't go past the big fallen oak tree. That was about a 5-minute walk into the forest. And come back in when I ring the dinner bell, which was really just me shouting. They knew all the rules. They'd been coming here since they were tiny. I puttered around the kitchen and did some dishes, starting a pot of soup for lunch. It was maybe an hour later when I heard them coming back, both of them talking excitedly. They burst through the door, pink-cheeked from the cold. "Grandma!" Emma was tugging on my sweater. "There's something weird in the woods." I dried my hands on a dish towel. "What kind of weird, honey?" Mason said, "There's these marks on the trees like scratches, really high off the ground, like way higher than we can reach." "We get black bears around here all the time. The occasional grizzly passes through too. Well, that's what I've heard." I figured that's what it was. Bears scratching on trees, marking territory before winter. Nothing weird about that. "Oh, just bears, loves. You know what to do if you see one, right?" They both nodded. "Make noise, back away slowly, and don't run." We'd been over it a dozen times. But Emma wasn't satisfied with that. "It's not bear marks, Grandma. They're too high for that, even for a big bear. And they look like..." She held up her hand, fingers spread wide. "Like something with really, really long fingers did it." Kids and their imaginations. I gave them a snack, apple slices and cheese, and sent them back out with instructions to stay closer to the house. They agreed, but I could see they were excited now. It was an adventure for them, a new mystery to solve. They came in for lunch around noon. Grilled cheese and tomato soup, another of their favorites. They chattered the whole time about what they'd found. More scratches, all of them way up high. Places where the undergrowth was all flattened down too, like something had been walking or trampling or lying down there. Mason, always the little scientist, wanted to borrow my bird-watching binoculars to look for tracks. I let him, figuring it would keep them busy. I remember I was folding laundry when they came back the next time, around 3 in the afternoon. I knew right away something was different now. Emma wasn't bouncing. Mason wasn't talking. They stood at the back door and I could see it in their faces. Something had spooked them. "What is it now?" I asked, opening the door. Mason spoke quietly. "There's something out there, Grandma. We heard it, and I think it followed us." "It followed you? What do you mean?" Emma got close to her brother and said, "When we walked, it walked, and when we stopped, it stopped. We couldn't see it, but it stayed back in the thick trees. And it smelled weird," Mason added. "Like, remember when Dad forgot those hamburgers in the car last summer?" Rotten meat, I thought. That gave me chills. I kept calm in front of them. Didn't want to scare them worse. "Probably just a deer. They're curious sometimes. And animals die out there, you know. And they rot too, unfortunately. You may have not seen it, but you probably walked past a dead animal. Come inside, I'll make you some hot chocolate. But for the first time ever, they didn't want hot chocolate. Mason had found tracks, he said, big ones, different from anything he'd seen in nature books. Would I come look, just to the edge of the woods, please, Grandma? I should have said no. Should have kept them inside and called their parents, packed them up right then and there and drove to town. But I was still thinking bears, or even moose. Maybe just their imaginations running wild. And I didn't want to be the grandma who was scared of shadows. So I pulled on Earl's old jacket and followed them out. The tracks were by an old tree maybe 50 feet from the house. We'd had rain the week before, so the ground there was still soft. Perfect for holding in impressions. When I saw them, my mouth went dry. They weren't bear tracks. In
How's
all my
everyone's night
years,
going?
I'd seen plenty of bear tracks. These weren't moose or deer either. What freaked me out was that they looked human. Almost human. But wrong. The foot was very long and very narrow. The toes, if you could call them toes, were stretched out, with these markings at the tips, like they were claws that had dug into the earth. But the worst of it seemed to be the stride. I'm no tracker or professional, but even I could see that whatever made these prints had very, very long legs. The distance between steps was huge. "See, Grandma?" Emma whispered. "Weird, right?" Before I could answer, we heard something. A sound from deeper in the woods. I've lived in the bush most of my life. I've heard wolves and bears and mountain cats. And it wasn't any of those. It wasn't quite a howl, wasn't quite a scream. But I swear to you it was something in between. Something that made every hair on my body stand on end. Something that reaches right into the old parts of your brain. The part that remembers when humans were prey. The kids got real close to me, and I could feel Emma trembling. "Inside," I said. My voice was sharper now. "Right now." We walked back to the house, not running, though every part of me screamed to run. Running felt dangerous, like it would trigger something to chase us. I felt us being watched. You know that feeling? When you absolutely know something is looking at you? The weight of it was like cold fingers on the back of my neck. Once inside, I locked the door. All the doors, actually. Checked every window too and drew all the curtains. The kids and I huddled up on the couch, and for the first time since they'd arrived, Mason was not reading. "Grandma, what was that?" he said in a small voice. I didn't know what to say. So I did what grandmothers do. I made dinner like nothing happened. Kept things normal for them. But while the roast was in the oven, I called my neighbor Robert. He lived only about a quarter mile down the road. I made it sound casual, just checking in, asking if he had noticed anything strange lately, any unusual animals around. "Funny you should ask," he told me. "Lost 2 chickens this week. Something tore right through the coop. Strong wire too, you know, the good stuff. And the dogs have been going crazy at night, barking and carrying on in the forest. Won't go near the tree line after dark, though." That cold feeling in my stomach got worse. After dinner, the kids barely ate, I set them up in the living room with another movie. Told them we'd have a camp out tonight, all of us together in one room. Made it sound fun instead of, what it really was. They seemed relieved not to be sleeping alone in the guest room. I pulled out blankets and pillows and made a big nest on the floor. But I didn't sleep. Not 1 minute. I sat in Earl's old recliner, the one that faced the big picture window. I kept all the lights off inside so I could see out, and I waited. The kids fell asleep eventually. Emma first, then Mason, fighting it, but he finally gave in. I sat there listening to them breathe, watching our yard. It must have been around midnight when I saw something. I hoped it was just shadows from the trees moving, but it was a windless night. Everything was still. Then I realized the shadow was standing at the edge of where the porch light reached, standing and swaying a bit, back and forth. It was tall. So tall. I'm no good with measurements, but it had to be 7, maybe 8 feet, and disgustingly thin. Like if you chewed a person up like bubblegum, spat them out, and pulled them. The thing stood there swaying. Then it took a step forward into the light. I bit down on my knuckle to keep from making a sound. That thing was covered in something. Fur, maybe. Maybe it was skin. But it looked patchy, like a dog with mange. Its arms hung down past its knees, way past. And its hands were definitely like a person's. They had fingers, but were very long. I thought of those scratches on the trees, way up high, and my stomach turned. But the face, I will never forget. The eyes were sunken in real deep. They caught the light like an animal's, the way they shined. A wide, lipless mouth, just a little open, like it was tasting the air. I could see the faint glow of teeth. Too many teeth for any mouth to hold. When it began to move, it even moved unnaturally, like every one of its limbs was broken and couldn't heal. It crawled here and there and would stand back up, looking at my house, looking at the window where I sat. Could it see me in the dark there? I don't know. I hope not. I knew with absolute certainty, if my grandkids had still been outside, if they'd been in those woods after dark, they would have never come back. Maybe worse. Maybe they would have come back, but wrong. I don't know how long I watched it or how long it watched me. Time went funny then. Could have been 5 minutes, maybe an hour. But eventually, the thing turned and went back into the forest. It didn't walk exactly, more like lurched, but fast, faster than something that moved like that should be able to move. I stayed in that chair until the sun came up. Didn't move an inch, and I didn't fall asleep. I waited and watched. A couple times I swear I heard something on the porch, like footsteps, but very quiet. Careful and quiet. At once I swear I heard breathing right outside the window, but I didn't look this time. I couldn't look. Just sat there praying for daylight. Soon as the sun was properly up, I got the kids up and packed. I told them I wasn't feeling very well, and I needed to take them home. They didn't argue. Actually, I think they were relieved. Kids know more than we give them credit for sometimes. On the drive to Sharon's, longest hour of my life, Emma piped up from the back seat. "Grandma, that thing in the woods, do you think it was a Wendigo?" I raised an eyebrow, though she couldn't see it. "Now where did you hear that?" "Mason read about it in a book. He said that it sounded like the stories." I glanced in the rearview mirror. Mason was staring out the window, but I could see his reflection. Poor kid looked older now, like he'd figured something out that a child that age never should have. "Oh, those are just stories, honey," I said finally. "Just old stories people tell." But I was lying. When we got to Sharon's, I told her the kids had gotten spooked playing in the woods. Maybe saw a bear. She laughed it off, said they both had overactive imaginations, especially Mason with all those books he reads. I let her believe that. I didn't want to say anything else. I told her that something that looked like a broken man and had too many teeth had stalked her children. I'd never see them again, and she would beg me to move away from that land. Well, funny I say that, because I sold the house the following spring. I couldn't do another night there. Couldn't stand checking the windows,
I don't like the green.
jumping at every sound, wondering if some long fingers were reaching for my door handle any moment, and the idea that if I wanted to see my grandkids here, they might be stalked by this thing again. Nope, couldn't do it. I found a nice little condo in town. Second floor, lots of neighbors, streetlights, no trees for anything to hide behind. Before I was able to move, the kids never asked to go back to the old house. And nowadays, they don't even ask about it. We don't talk about what happened, but sometimes when Emma visits, she's 16 now, taller than me, I catch her looking out the window at the woods nearby. She'll move away from it, casually, but I know she remembers. Mason's in university. It's good to see them growing up, but heartbreaking nonetheless. Robert, my old neighbor, called me about a year after I moved, wanted to know if I'd had any trouble at my place. He said something had gotten into his barn, killing 3 goats. Whatever it was didn't even eat them, just killed them and left them laid out in a row. And his grandson, visiting for the summer, kept saying he saw a tall man in the woods, watching the house.
That's not creepy at all.
Chesterton's fence
I
is
am
the
going to
idea
pause
of
it there because we are just about done here. Oh. Because we are going to add a little bit of distortion here. To give it that digitized feel. More of a comic book. Try to make it tiny, but without too much distortion. And we are done. That looks really clean. I really fucking like it. I hope she does too. But with that being said, I know this was a short stream. Normally I would stay up a little bit longer, do something else, but wanted to get this done. I wanted to stream, but I didn't know what to stream. But with that being said, if y'all will stick around for the raid, I would gladly appreciate that. I appreciate the raids from Lilith and Ewok. That was fun, especially with everything going on at once. I was like, oh god. But with that being said, if y'all will stick around for the raid once more, I would gladly appreciate it. And until next time, we will catch you on the next one. Bye, everybody.
Jenner, you left this behind! Eh, Nani? How you doing? Bros, I just saw that you just ended stream. How doing? How was stream? I hope it was good. And, yeah. Hold on. I